Why am I doing this and that? And why this has been the single best decision I've made for my creative and sometimes mental well-being. Take one. So first off, my name's Charlie Waymire. I produce music as Sound of Objects. Welcome to the YouTube channel. I've spent most of my career as a working musician, mainly as a drummer. I've been fortunate to do a lot of gigs around here in LA. I spent a few years in Minnesota. I got to record a bunch at the awesome Paisley Park. But then I spent most of my career as a working drummer, gigging. I've got to tour the world with some great artists. I've been signed to record labels, a little bit of film work in there, but mostly TV stuff. But all said and done, I've had a pretty fun career as a drummer. And then about 15 years ago, I started this studio. I had a smaller spot in Hollywood before that, outgrew that quickly as all my friends wanted to come record their drums and bands there. So ultimately that led me to building the studio I'm in now, which is called Ultimate Studios, Inc. Some of you seeing this may have seen my other YouTube channel, which is called Ultimate Studios, Inc. I've been fortunate to do some really fun work with a lot of great artists. Drums being a big part of that, obviously, you know, that was a big motivator really to build this studio. Is I wanted a really good sounding drum room that was affordable to a lot of drummers so we could just come and do killer drum tracks. And nowadays I'm actually doing a lot more producing, so I'm start to finish through the whole process. And that's actually some of my most fun work. I like being able to see things through all the way. Also done a lot of video work, more TV work, a little bit of film work actually. So it's really, the type of work I do kind of runs the gamut, which keeps things interesting and fun, and it also keeps things from getting stale. So it's hard to fall into a rut of doing things a specific way when you're always getting to do a lot of different things. So as far as work goes, I've been really fortunate to not only stay busy, but to get to work with all sorts of different artists in a lot of different genres. Maybe problem isn't necessarily the right word, so let me see if I can explain it a little bit better, because I don't think I'm the only person that is in a similar position that I'm in right now, trying to make a change in how we're working or what our musical path is. So when I built Ultimate Studios, Inc., I wanted to engineer and I wanted to produce. That's what I wanted to get into more of, was producing, and I was going to use being an engineer as kind of that path to that. I did some writing, you know, of my own stuff, because I'd kind of dabble in that over the years, but I never really got anything out. I wrote some stuff with some other friends of mine. We'd sometimes put it out, but it never had any push behind it, because that wasn't necessarily the goal I was going after. And on top of that, there was always another session coming in. So there's a drum session, there was another artist coming in I had to produce, or we were doing another video project. So whatever I was doing that was my own was always put on the back burner. That's just the way it was, which makes sense, because the goal, or at least what I thought my goal was to be an engineer, producer. And if you're not busy, if you're not staying busy doing that, you don't really have a studio, you just have a lot of overhead that's gonna eat up your bank account. Now, over the past few years, I would say actually starting right around the time of the pandemic, I started to kind of have this unsatisfied feeling every now and then that I couldn't really put my finger on. I did start trying to write a little bit more. You know, I've got tons of ideas in a folder on the hard drive, you know, little bits and pieces of ideas really, that I was trying to go through, but nothing was ever really getting fleshed out at all, and definitely nothing was ever getting finished at all, not even close to it. As the pandemic went on, I started to write a bit more. Then I started to practice piano a little bit, and that unsatisfied feeling just kept gnawing at me, until finally one day, this would be August or September-ish of 2023, I was doing a YouTube video, or I was working on a video for the Ultimate Studios, Inc. YouTube channel, and I just wasn't into it. And out of nowhere, I kind of thought back to a specific moment at my old studio in Hollywood where one day I walked out of the door of the studio. I was just walking down the hallway and I ran into the owner. And we just talked for a few minutes and he was asking me about what was going on. So I was telling him I was playing drums for this artist. I got to go to Europe and do some touring, and I was doing some TV work with a buddy of mine. And he was like, oh, that's cool, that's cool. He goes, well, are you making time for your own music? I'm like, there's a lot going on. He goes, you better make time for it, because if you don't do it now, chances are you might not do it ever. And I was like, yeah, whatever, what's he know? I got plenty of time. Well, fast forward to 2023, August, September-ish, and that popped into my head for some reason while I was trying to put these videos together. And that is when I realized what that unsatisfied feeling was that was just gnawing at me. And I wasn't creating anything of my own. I was creating for other people, and that's great. I'm still doing that, still want to do that. But that urge to be my own artist, to try to get my own ideas out, to try to have that creative outlet, it just didn't exist. That outlet wasn't there. But I didn't realize how much I absolutely needed that, and how much that was really, really starting to eat at me. Delilah's right below me, snoring loudly. So now that the problem has been identified, I made a decision right then and there to reevaluate my time. I wanted to make a concerted effort to put time and a significant amount of effort into my own creative path. But the only way to do that is to let some things go, because there's only so much time. And time is the one thing we don't get back. So now that that's all been figured out, everything's all well and good, right? Problem solved. Nope. That just led to a whole new set of challenges that I, quite frankly, wasn't even aware were challenges. The first one was being okay with dedicating time to myself. That was almost completely foreign, because the only way you can really do that is be very motivated. You've got to be self-motivated, because no one's pushing me. I don't have a client calling me going, hey, where's that mix? Did you send that rough? Did you get this recorded? Did you get that edited? Did you get those drums done? There's no one hounding me. The only person that could hound me was me, and that was it. And I don't have a problem with working and going, but I had a problem with being okay with it being mine. When it was everybody else's work, no problem. 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, let's rock. But now it's like I almost felt guilty in a way that I was focusing on my own time. So that makes it hard to write, really. So I've put some of the YouTube video and pretty much all the YouTube stuff for Ultimate Studios on the back burner. I did one or two things, but that was the first thing that I had to let go. So now I've got the time. I kind of would just walk by the piano, and if something hit me, I'd record it real quick with my phone, and I just started cataloging just a ton of short ideas with video. I'd just hold the camera, or I'd actually mount the camera above, play it, cool, that's idea one, next day, cool, here's another idea, whatever. I just was trying anything to get a spark, but I found it really hard to sit and focus on that, because all I did every time I would sit down and do that, be like, man, I really should be doing a job or a gig for somebody else right now. I need to go finish that for so-and-so. I need to do this. I need to try to get this work coming in. I need to try to get this work coming in. And really, I was trying to let some of that stuff go, and I really had no choice but to let some of that stuff go to make that time for myself. So I kind of found after a while a bit of a rhythm where I was really I was trying to find a time of day where I could just calm my brain, just turn my mind off. And that turned out to be between midnight and 4 a.m. for me, which I'm a night owl. I've always been a night owl. I love working at night because there's no one to call, there's no one to email, there's nothing going on. No one's getting a hold of me except maybe one or two of my friends that are just like me. But for the most part, it's just me in the studio and, you know, with Delilah back there. So that ended up actually having a big influence on where I've ended up right now and this first EP that's coming out. That turned out to be not only good just for the writing, but actually just good for me because it gave me time to kind of figure out who I was at this moment, what I wanted to write, if I wanted to have any boundaries whatsoever, or if I was just going to let it be whatever it's going to be, which is ultimately what I decided to do. But since I was writing late at night, I was writing the type of things that slowed my brain down. It's music that just helped me relax and just kind of flow. So that really helped my creative state, but honestly, it really helped my mental state too, because what I needed was to create. Is anyone going to listen to it? I don't know. You know, I hope that some of you will enjoy it. It's going to be a journey. I've already got the next EP written. I probably have pieces of a third one, and I'm just going to start putting this stuff out because for me, regardless of really what happens, once this is out, it's important that I do this. So why am I doing this? We're right back to the beginning of the video. Well, the more important question is, what is this? And this is Sound of Objects. This is my course correction to get going the direction that I know I need to be creatively happy and just be happy in general. And I know for a fact that I am not the only person that is in a position like this. I've had many conversations recently with other friends that are creatives, some really talented people that are in similar positions. And the longer you wait, the harder it is to make a course correction. I've never really had a problem of starting over with something new, but I have had a problem with starting over or trying to get on a path that's more about or more aligned with what I really want to do. And that's the change I've made in the last year and a half. And I cannot recommend this enough to anyone else that's out there. If you've got that itch to create, make the time. Give something up that you don't enjoy as much, or maybe you've outgrown it. Carve some time out of that and focus on your creative endeavors, your creative path. It has really changed my entire outlook over this last year. It's been some ups and downs, don't get me wrong. There's been a few nights at 3 in the morning where I've been writing something going, oh my God, this is absolute garbage. No one is gonna wanna listen to this. And then the next night at 3 a.m., I'm like, oh man, this is pretty cool. So a little Jekyll and Hyde there, but it all works itself out in the end, and that's kind of part of the process, really. So my goal with Sound of Objects is to create music. It's that simple. And that is my path from here on out. I'm still gonna work with other people. I love just making music and I love being able to help people out. But I am carving out a significant amount of time for myself. But we'll see how that goes, and I hope a lot of you will come along for the ride with me because it's gonna be interesting. And I have a ton of music written. So thank you all for joining me on this video. Go make some music, and I hope to see you in the next video. Take care.